Hello, fictional. Welcome to the Fiction Series X. Today we are gonna see, what if Issei Hyoudou was a Dragon-Nekomata hybrid with a boosted gear? Part 4. If you end up liking this video, please consider subscribe, so without further ado, let's get into the video. Issei was currently walking towards the new school building. He and the others already defeated everyone from Riser's peerage, with exception of Ravel, Eubeluna and Riser himself. As he was walking towards the building, he suddenly heard Graphia's voice. Ria's queen retired. Graphia announced. After hearing that, Issei froze solid. Akeno-san lost. This can't be true. As he was thinking that, he suddenly heard Kiba yelling in pain. He then heard an explosion. Boom. As he looked towards Kiba, he saw Eubeluna hovering over him with part of her clothes torn and her scepter above her head. Kiba then fell to the ground and he disappeared in a flashing blue light. Ria's knight retired. Graphia announced again. Issei just looked at the queen and gritted his teeth. You again? Issei asked angrily. It looks like I'll have to finish it here and now. Issei said and spread his dragon wings. He then flew upwards. This is for Akeno-san and Kiba. He said, and then in both of his hands fireballs appeared. Take a break, little boy. You won't be able to defeat me. Besides, I believe it will be better if you watch out for your remaining friends. Eubeluna said. As she said so, Issei looked back at Kaneko and saw a strange purple magic circle under her. She will be blown any minute now. You better hurry up and save her. Issei quickly flew down and caught Kaneko just before the magic circle exploded. He then looked back at Eubeluna and saw her flying towards the new school building. Issei then looked at Kaneko in his arms. Are you okay, Kaneko-chan? Issei asked her. She just nodded and smiled. Then, let's go and help Butchu. He said and flew towards the new school building with Kaneko still in his hands. At the roof of the new school building, Riaz and Asia were fighting against Riser. Riaz and Riser were dueling, while Asia was behind Riaz and healed her wounds. Riaz had a depressed look on her face. Yudo Akeno, she thought. Evil laughter. Just give it up, my dear Riaz. If you try to resist more, then your remaining servants will just suffer a lot more. Riser said arrogantly as he stood in front of Riaz. Riaz have destroyed his hands with her power of destruction, but thanks to his regenerative powers, Riser looked like nothing happened to him. How dare you? Don't joke around. Riaz said and attacked him again. She destroyed part of his head, but he regenerated very quickly. No matter how much Riaz attacked, Riser just regenerated himself over and over again. Accepted, Riaz. I won. This is checkmate. Riser said. Never. I'll never give up. Riaz said as she tried to collect her breath. Well then, it's time for you to learn your lesson. Riser said. Just as he said that, Eubeluna appeared. She then lifted her scepter above her face. Suddenly, under Asia, pink magic circle appeared. Asia. Watch out. Riaz tried to warn her, but it was too late. The magic circle exploded. Riaz quickly went to check on Asia. Part of her nun dress was torn, but she was alright. Unconscious, but alright. I apologizes. I thought that I would be able to retire her with only one attack. Eubeluna said as she landed next to Riser. It doesn't matter. Riaz lost her only bishop. I wonder how she will treat her wounds now. Riser said and launched fireball at Riaz. Well, that's game over, my dear Riaz. Riser said. He then heard explosion. Boom. Smoke and dust rose, blocking his vision. As the smoke and the dust cleared, he saw Issei standing in front of Riaz. The fireball that Riser threw was in Issei's hand. Both of his boosted gears were activated. He also had his cat ears, tail and dragon wings released. What? Hyoudou? Riser asked surprised. Yo, useless Yakitori. We meet again. Issei said with a smirk and teasing tone. Useless Yakitori. Why you? Riser began. Well, because it's true. Now, for what you did to Asia, Akeno-san, Kiba, Ravel and what you were going to do to Butchu, I'm going to kill you. Issei said and boosted himself. Boost. Heh. You wish. You will now feel the fire of the phoenix. Riser said and fire appeared in his hands. Fine then. Let's see which fire is stronger. Dragon's fire, phoenix's fire. Issei said and fire appeared in his hands as well. His boosted gears were covered in flames. He was just looking at Riser. Let's do it, bastard. You'll be disappointed. Riser said and he launched towards Issei. Issei took a defense stance. As Riser was close enough, Issei punched him in the face. Riser was sent flying backwards, but he used his phoenix wings and stopped himself from flying backwards. Not bad. Not bad at all, Riser tried to say, but Issei interrupted him with a punch in his gut. Riser spitted out some blood. Have you ever heard about the term don't speak during battle? Issei said and punched Riser again. Riser spitted out some more blood. Issei then kicked him and sent him flying backwards again. This time he wasn't able to stop himself. Riser crashed into the chimney of the new school building. He had some burns on his body, but his regeneration quickly treated them. As Issei was just looking at Riser, he heard Kaneko behind him. Issei-senpai, watch out. Kaneko tried to warn him. However, she was too late. Issei was attacked by Yubulana. Smoke and dust rose again, and no one was able to see if Issei was alright. That's for attacking Riser-sama. Yubulana said as she was flying above the new school building. No one gets to attack our master and get away with it, so you will, but she was interrupted by the loud sounds from something coming from below. Boost 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 boost. Issei was boosting himself with the boosted gears, while Yubulana just watched in shock. No way he survived. Yubulana asked herself. Dragon shot. Issei said quietly and fired the dragon shot at Yubulana. You lose. He said as he winked at her. Riser's queen retired. Grafia announced. After a second, Issei heard Riser clapping. Bravo. Bravo. You defeated Yubulana. Heh. But I wonder, can you defeat me? Riser said mockingly. Let's try. Issei said and covered his arms with fire again. Heh. Come and hit me then. Riser said and spread his hand sideways. Come on, I'm waiting. Well, if you insist, Issei said and dashed towards Riser. He was about to hit him when he suddenly saw a figure in front of him, blocking his way towards Riser. It was none other than the brainwashed Ravel. As Issei saw her, he immediately stopped the strike. Issei then looked at Ravel. Her eyes were dull, empty, cold. It was like she was nothing more than a doll. You coward. You're using your own sister to guard you from me? What kind of bastard are you? Now Hyoudou. I thought you said that you're stronger than me. Why don't you prove it? This just proves your weakness. If you want to get to me, you will have to pass through Ravel first. Can you do that, Hyoudou? Can you? Riser said as he began laughing at the last part. Issei just stood there in front of Ravel, unable to move. Well then, time for strategy change. Issei said and used his ground and air powers. Ground. Air. Fusion. Issei said and suddenly, part of the rooftop on which Riser was got destroyed and Riser was sent flying in the sky. Issei just flew upwards and as he got close to Riser, he prepared to strike again. As he was just about to hit Riser, Ravel flew in front of Riser, blocking Issei's path again. When Riser finally fell, he just turned to Issei, who also landed. I told you. You will never defeat me. Better surrender. Riser told him. It's easy to say it when you're hiding behind Ravel, isn't it? Issei asked. Fucking coward, you're going to sacrifice your own sister in order to win. What kind of monster are you? Ha. Ravel should be thanking me. I saved her from you, after all. Unfortunately, she was too young then and thinks otherwise. So I had to make her see the truth. You can't blame me, Hyoudou. Riser said. I'm sorry, Ravel, Issei said quietly. Oh? You're apologizing to her because you violated her? Riser asked mockingly again. No, I'm apologizing about what I'm going to do now, Issei said, and green aura covered his body. He then launched towards Ravel. She just closed her eyes and prepared herself for the impact, however after 15 seconds, she opened her eyes, only to see Issei standing in front of her, with his index finger extended towards her. I'm sorry, Ravel. It's going to hurt for a bit, but it's going to be alright after that, okay? He said and touched Ravel's forehead. As Issei touched her, Ravel began screaming. Riser was just looking at the scene with shock. Bastard. What are you doing to my little sister? Riser asked livid. Ravel continued to scream, but after about a second she stopped. I'm fixing her, you bitch. Issei replied angrily. Ravel fell on her knees. She was about to faint, but Issei caught her. He placed her on the rooftop gently. Riser just stood there and watched. Did you kill her? Did you kill her? Riser asked angrier than ever. No. Just wait a second. After that, I'll fucking destroy you. For what you did to my friends and for what you did to Ravel. Issei said, as he was still looking at Ravel. You better get my sister back, or I'll. Riser tried to say. I'm doing it, chicken brain. Issei replied him. That does it. Riser said and began running towards Issei, getting ready to hit him. As he was just about to hit him, he saw he was unable to, since magic circle-like barrier was stopping him. He then looked at Riaz and saw that she was the one that created the barrier. Now, my dear Riaz. Just give up. You're not going to save yourself like that. You wish, Riser. We are the winners. Just accept it. Riaz replied. DSK. You're the winners. Don't make me laugh. One attack is stopping me from defeating you. Riser said. 2. Kaneko suddenly said. Huh? Riser asked. 2 attacks. 2 attacks are stopping you. You will have to pass through me first. Kaneko said as she stepped up to protect Riaz. Listen up, little girl. You better change your behavior, for you, the queen, the bishop over there and your master will be my new slaves. Besides, I always like the aggressive girls better. Riser said with evil smirk. Now out of my way. No. I'll protect but you. Kaneko replied. I said out of my way. Riser said and launched fireball at Kaneko. She was sent flying backwards at around a meter. Her clothes were burnt and all that remained were her panties. Kaneko. Rias yelled. Riser just got closer to Kaneko. Stay away from her, Riser. Don't worry, my dear Rias. I will pay attention mostly to you. Riser said. Kaneko tried to stand up but she was unable to. Oh. You are not yet retired. You're stronger than I thought. But sooner or later all of you will submit to me. After he said that, Riser began laughing. However, he soon felt sharp pain in his chest. As he looked at his chest, he saw that there was a dagger stabbing him. He spitted out some blood. You try to harm Kaneko-chan now. You fell down completely, you useless fried chicken. Issei said from behind him. Even if Riser wasn't able to see his face, he felt how angry Issei was. Riser then looked at the place where Ravel was. She was on her hands and feet, exhausted, she was breathing heavily, but there was something different about her. Her eyes. Her eyes, instead of empty, were now full with life and emotion. She was back to her original self. What? What happened with Ravel? Riser asked angrily. I got her back to normal, that's what happened. Issei replied him. Be back to normal? How exactly, you bastard? Riser asked, still angry. With some senjutsu, of course. I took the negative energy from the magic you put it on her and now I'm using it on you. Issei explained. Do you feel that, Riser? Do you feel your body getting weaker with every second? Do you feel it? Do you want it to stop? Why? How? Why? Because you harmed my friends. You also harmed Ravel. How? With my senjutsu powers. Now I ask you again, Riser. Do you want it to stop? Yes. Then you will have to say one simple thing. Issei said. I already say it now and this will all end. Never. Riser yelled. Well, wrong answer. Issei said and kicked Riser in the waist. He then launched himself at Riser with his daggers. He aimed for his head. While Riser was still dizzy from the energy that Issei used on him, he wasn't able to defend himself. So Issei did as intended, he stabbed him in the head. The first dagger in the neck. The second one just below the brain. He then kicked him again. From the impact, Riser fell from the rooftop. There were 3 big holes on his body. One on his neck. One on his head and one on his chest. They weren't fatal, however. His regeneration powers cured the wounds and closed the holes. Issei jumped next to the fallen Riser. He sheathed his daggers and boosted himself. Boost, 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 boost. Then he covered his boosted gears with fire again. Well, Riser, it's been fun, but it's time to finish this. Issei said and 2 fireballs appeared in both of his hands. He then launched them at Riser. He didn't even twitch. Riser was just laying there. As if he was dead. Whoa, I didn't hit that hard, did I? Issei said out loud. Oh, you have no idea what you awakened, Riser almost whispered. Eh? Issei asked confused. Hi dude, I. Riser said and suddenly, his eyes changed their color. From his normal blue eyes, his eyes changed into glowing orange ones. It was then, Riser's body began to burn. It was then his whole body was covered in flames, giving him the look of a real phoenix. Riser quickly stood up and hit Issei. Hard. Issei flew backwards, at about 20 meters. As he fell on the ground, he spitted some blood. Damn. His speed and power are increased. I wonder if Issei thought and stood up. Not giving up, huh? Well then, burn. Riser said and dashed off towards Issei. Issei just took a stance, waiting for Riser to come closer. As Riser was close enough, he tried to punch Issei, but Issei just sidestepped and counterattacked him. Issei punched Riser in the face, but instead of falling or losing balance from the blow, Riser just stood as if nothing happened. Ha. You can't do anything to me. Riser said as he began laughing. That's not proven, Riser. Issei said and attacked Riser again. Again, he wasn't able to even make him twitch. Yawn, I'm bored of this crap already, Hyoudou. It's time to win this rating game. Goodbye. Riser said and turned around. He then punched Issei in the chest and sent him flying backwards again. As he fell on the ground, he groaned and tried to stand up on his feet again. He then looked at himself and saw that his shirt was completely destroyed. He took it off and threw it on the ground. Hey Riser, this didn't hurt even bit. Is that all you got? Issei yelled at Riser. Wow, you're even weaker than I thought. What? No one calls me weak. Riser said, as his anger began growing. Suddenly, the flames covering his body began to get bigger and bigger. They reacted to his anger. You're going to pay for this, Hyoudou. You're going to pay for what you did to my harem. Riser yelled and formed huge fireball in his hands. He then threw the fireball at Issei. As the fireball got closer, dust and smoke rose, blocking Issei from Riser's view. Issei. Ria screamed. Kaneko would scream as well, but she wasn't able to. She was conscious and she knew what was going on, but she wasn't able to do anything, nor say anything. You see that, my dear Rias? Riser said as he turned to Rias, who was still on the rooftop. Do you see how your hero fell before me? No way. Issei began crying. Now, surrender and I promise you I won't kill him. I will still harm him as hell, but he won't be. Riser was interrupted by loud sounds coming from the place where Issei was. Boost 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 boost. Both of Issei's boosted gears made sound. Issei just walked out of the smoke as if nothing happened. He was shirtless and little filthy, but other than that he was fine. Riser, you underestimate me too much. This way you won't be able to defeat me. It can't be bastard. Bastard. Die. Riser said and formed another huge fireball in his hands. He then hurled it at Issei. Issei just caught it and absorbed it. Is that it? Issei asked. He just putted his hands in his pockets and looked at Riser, whose eyes were twitching like they never before. Suddenly Riser stopped, gritted his teeth and narrowed his eyes. Shut up. Shut up. Riser said and the flames covering his body grew even bigger now. As they did so, he flew up in the sky. He then formed 6 fireballs around him. He then started launching them all towards Issei. Issei just dodged and dodged and dodged. None from Riser's fireballs hit him. Riser was just creating new fireballs. He was just launching and launching them at Issei, but Issei was just dodging his attacks. You can't run forever, Hyoudou. Can't I? Well, I think I'll can. Issei said and continued to avoid his attacks. He then flew up and in both of his hands, 2 glowing red spheres appeared. Let's do this. Dragon shot double power. Issei said and shot both of the dragon shots at Riser. Riser wasn't able to dodge them, but his regenerating powers cured him. You bastard. Riser said and punched Issei, making him to fall on the ground. As Issei fell, Riser landed close to him and picked him up by his throat. He then kneed him in the gut. Issei spitted some blood. Riser then began punching him over and over in his gut, chest and face. Finally he kicked him and sent him crashing into nearby wall. Is this enough? As Issei got in his feet, he just brushed himself and looked at Riser. Nope. He said with goofy grin. Issei. What are you doing? Are you trying to get yourself killed? Riaz yelled at Issei. Issei however just turned towards her and winked at her. Drrrrrrrr. Just die already. Riser said and the flames covering his body began to grow even more. He then created the biggest fireball he was able to. He then threw it at Issei. Die. Issei barely dodged it. Smoke and dust rose again. Issei however was visible this time. He just smirked at Riser. Finally. This is the end, Riser. What are you talking about? Riser asked with anger. This is game over. Riser, we won. Issei said. He then balled his hands into fists and started running towards Riser. As he got close to him, he punched him. Riser didn't twitch again. What did I tell you? I'm untouchable right? No, Riser said, but suddenly blood began gushing from his mouth, unable to be stopped. Baster, what was that? Riser asked. Issei just took a couple of steps back. He then extended his hand towards Riser. Suddenly, a chain with a cross came out his fist. The cross, Riser. Isn't the cross dangerous for all the devils? Issei asked sarcastically. Then how are you unaffected? Bastard, Riser asked as he began to tremble uncontrollable. Simple, I'm not a devil. I'm just a free piece. Issei said as he putted the cross on his neck. He then went and punched Riser again. But that's not all, Riser. Issei said and he pulled a bottle of holy water out of his pocket. That's Riser said as he puked some more blood. Holy water? It's poisonous for you, isn't it? Issei asked. Riser, if you want to save yourself from the shame of defeat and the pain of this holy water, you better surrender right away. Never. As you wish. Issei said and opened the bottle. He then poured some on Riser. As the holy water touched Riser's skin, he began screaming immediately. Ah. It burns. It burns. Riser was screaming. Well, it's normal, after all it's holy water. Shut up. Riser said and threw another fireball at Issei. Issei simply sidestepped and dodged it. Issei then threw the bottle of holy water into the air and broke it while in midair. The water then started falling, right over Issei. That's what he was waiting for. As the water fell over Issei, his gauntlets made noise. Transfer. This is the end, Riser. Issei said and punched Riser in the face. This is because you threatened Butchu. He then punched him in the left eye. This is for harming Akeno-san. Then Issei kicked Riser in the gut. This is for what you did to Kaneko-chan. He then punched him in the jaw. This is for Asia. Kick in the gut again. For Kiba. Finally, Issei boosted himself around 8 times. After that, he landed the finishing blow on Riser. And this is for what you did to your own sister. Riser fell on the ground, unable to stand up. The wounds that Issei caused him were not cured either. The holy water suppressed Riser's regenerative abilities, so he wasn't able to cure his wounds. Issei then went to the fallen Riser. This is the end, Riser. We win. You don't understand, this marriage is the future of all devils. You simply don't understand. Riser struggled to say. I don't care, Riser. I don't care. I just want my friends to be happy. So, checkmate, Riser. Issei said. Do you have something to say? Or shall I give you another lesson? I retire. Riser said. It was not longer than second after that, he disappeared in flashing blue light. Riser surrendered. Ria's Gremory is the victor. Graphia's voice was heard. We did it finally, Issei said, as he fainted at the place where he stood. Issei. Ria's yelled from the roof of the new school building. That was the last thing that Issei heard. Around 3 hours later, Issei woke up in some white room. He was laying on a bed. He then looked around. In front of the bed, there was a TV. Next to his bed was a bedside cabinet with some food and water on it. The walls were painted in simple white color. On one of the walls there was a window, who was slightly opened. The door, leading to the room was wide as well. Where am I? Issei thought, as he rubbed his eyes. In the underworld. If I am not wrong, this is the infirmary in the house of the Gremory. Drake replied him. Drake? What happened? I don't remember much. Did we win? Issei asked Drake. Yes you did, partner. But you fainted. You took too much energy from Riser, Drake explained. Yeah, Shinjutsu, why must you be so scary and cool at the same time? Issei thought as he giggled. Well, it's not like something was going to happen to you, but you wasn't able to use it the right way. Things like this happen, partner. Drake told him. Yeah, I guess so. Issei replied to the dragon in his head. Wait, the others, where are they? They're here. Somewhere the knight and the queen were wounded, so they are in the other infirmary. Drake replied. I see. I must go and see them. Issei said and tried to stood up. He then looked at himself. Drake, why am I naked? Cuckoo. The nurse stripped you. She said that it would be better for you. You had to see her face when she saw you such a shade of red. Cuckoo. Drake replied while laughing. It's not funny. Issei replied. It is. What should I do then? I can't wander off naked around the halls. Then just lay back down and wait until somebody shows up. Yeah, I guess that would be the best thing to do right now. Issei replied and leaned back on the pillow again. So, they're saved now, huh? Are you happy? Drake asked. Yeah. I'm happy. Kaneko-chan, Asia, Akeno-san and Butchu didn't want to go with him. I think we were able to grant their wishes. Issei replied. You care about them, partner. Why is that? After all, you barely know them. First off, I'm a dragon. I attract attention. Allies and enemies. They are allies for sure. Then, don't forget I'm also Nekomata. I can tell if somebody is hostile or ally. So yeah, that should explain it. Yeah. Besides, Issei continued in his thoughts as he began giggling like an idiot. Being around so many beautiful girls, so many beautiful girls. That's my partner. Don't keep your eyes of the target. Drake replied him. Oh, somebody is coming. I wonder if he woke up already. Issei heard somebody talking outside his room. He's been out for 3 hours. If he's not yet awake, you will have to try and take some of his energy again. Issei heard a second voice. He then heard a knock on the door. Knock. What should I do now? Should I tell them that I'm alright? Issei was thinking. Suddenly the door opened and revealed Rias and Kaneko. They were both carrying clothes for Issei. As they entered and saw him awake, they froze on their places and their eyes widened. Yo. He simply said. Issei. Rias said and went to hug him. Issei-senpai. Kaneko ran off to hug him as well. As both of them were close to the bed, both of them embraced him. He just blushed like mad. Did you miss me? Issei asked as he smiled. You have no idea. Rias said as she was still embracing him. Don't scare us like that ever again, Issei-senpai. Kaneko said and hugged him tighter. Of course. I'll try not to, Kaneko-chan. Issei replied. He then suddenly remembered something. Butchu, what happened after I passed out? We were teleported here to the underworld where you were taken to the infirmary. Rias explained. I see, Issei said. Then, what about Asia, Akeno-san and Kiba? They are in separate rooms. Akeno and Hyoudou were taken in the special infirmary because they were retired. You and Asia were alright, so that's why you were putted in separate rooms. So, they are fine? Issei asked. Yes, they are. Rias said and backed off a bit. Thank you, Issei. It was my pleasure. Issei replied. Well then, you better get dressed. You can't wander off around the halls naked. Yes, I was thinking the same thing, but Issei said as he began to blush. Could you two please leave so I can dress myself? Of course, Issei. Rias said and stood up from the bed. But just to let you know, there is no need to hide yourself from us. We don't bite. Rias said as she winked. Well, come Kaneko. Let's leave Issei alone. Yes. Kaneko said and backed off from Issei a bit. I'm glad you're back, Issei-senpai. I'm glad to be back as well, Kaneko-chan. Thank you. Issei replied her as he petted her head. She just purred and stood up. When you're done, come to us. We will be waiting for you downstairs. Rias said and both her and Kaneko left the room. Okay, well then, I'm tired of laying here. Issei said and stood up. Heh. Lane can be very interesting, partner. That is if you make it the right way. Drake said out loud. I guess so. Issei replied and went to dress himself. Don't act like you don't know what I mean, partner. You remember the case, I remember the case. Besides, you just agreed with me earlier. Yeah, I did. Issei said and putted his shirt on. You know Drake, the devils are not that evil. Well, not all of them. In the folklore is said that they're always evil, but that's not quite the truth. They are like the humans and the angels. They felt, fought, dreamed, hoped, killed, died. So yes, the devils are not necessarily evil. Why are you saying this so suddenly? When I joined, even though I'm a free piece, I still thought that I was doing something wrong. After all, I'm Christian and all that, Issei replied. But you want to be part of a war between the fractions? No. But you want to stop believing? No. Are you still a Christian? Can you pray? Can you read the Bible? All of them are yes. Issei replied as he finished dressing himself. Then you're not doing anything wrong, partner. Just, forget it. Don't think about it. Yeah, you're right. Thank you, Drake. That's why I'm here after all. Issei just nodded and went to the door. He opened it and left the room. As Issei exited the room and went downstairs, he saw Riaz and her whole peerage standing there, waiting for him. Huh? You're all here, but I thought that Kiba and Akeno-san were still in the infirmary. Issei asked them. We insisted on coming, Issei-kun. Yufufufufu, Akeno replied him. Yes. We had to congratulate the hero. Good work on that game, Issei-kun. Kiba said as he smiled. Issei-san, you was amazing back then. You stood for so long and you even defeated Butchu's suitor. Amazing. Asia said. Thank you. All of you. Issei replied them. Ah, Issei, somebody is here to greet you. Riaz said. Then, from behind her, two people came. They were Xerozzuro and Grafia. Hello, Issei-kun. Xerozzuro greeted him. Hello, Issei-kun. Grafia greeted him as well. Xerozzuro-sama, Grafia-chan, I'm happy to see you. Issei said as he bowed down. You did well, Issei-kun. Xerozzuro said. Eh? What do you mean? Issei asked. The game. I watched. You did well. All of you. Xerozzuro said. Besides, I'm happy that you won. Raizar-kun deserved it. Su, you're not mad? Issei asked. Why should I be? Now my Ria-tan will be able to marry whoever she wants. Xerozzuro said as he went to Riaz and hugged her. Isn't that right, Ria-tan? Nai-san, stop it. You're embarrassing me. Riaz said as she tried to free herself from Xerozzoro's grip. At that, everyone's sweat dropped. Xerozzuro-sama is real, Issei said. Siskin. Kaneko finished. Yeah, exactly. Issei confirmed. Grafia then went closer to him. Congratulations, Issei-kun. I told you that with you in their team, you will be the winners. Grafia said as she smiled. Thank you. Issei said as he bowed down. But, what will happen with Raizar now? Issei asked. The engagement will be cancelled. You won't see him anytime soon. Grafia said. I guess he will learn his lesson now. Well then, if we're ready, I think we should go back home. Riaz said, as she finally freed herself from her brother's grip. Yes, Butchu. Her whole peerage agreed. Well then, Nai-sama, Grafia, we shall be taking our leaves. Riaz said. Of course. We will see each other again soon. Goodbye. Xerozzuro said and waved at them. Oh, and by the way, the party for your victory will be after week, Ria-tan. Don't forget. I won't. Goodbye now. She said, and she and her whole peerage were transported with the magic circle. Sai, my Ria-tan is free. I'm so glad for her. Xerozzuro said. I'm glad as well, but will this peace last long? Grafia asked. As long as he doesn't show, it's going to be. Xerozzuro said. Yes, you're right. But maybe it won't be long before we meet him, the vanishing dragon, Grafia said. Xerozzuro just nodded and turned to Grafia. Come on, let's get home. Milikas is waiting for us. Xerozzuro said. Grafia just nodded. And with that, both of them went home. Issei was currently laying in his bed, wide-eyed and with a furious blush. Why, you ask? Simple. When Issei woke up, he found Riaz fully naked, using him as her hugging pillow. Her breasts were right in front of his eyes and they were squeezed in his face. B breasts. Oppai. Wait, why is breasts the first thing I see in the morning? Issei asked himself. It was then Riaz began moving and buried Issei's head even deeper in her breasts. Wait, but you what? Issei said. I don't know what's happening here, but I guess that there's no problem if I touch them, unconsciously, Issei said and extended his hand, trying to grope Riaz. As he did so, Riaz opened her eyes and looked at Issei. She then smiled at him. Good morning, Issei. She said. Good morning. Issei replied as he tried not to freak out. Butchu, why are we like this? Why are you even in my house? Well, I moved in here. I thought that this way I'll be able to get to know you better. Riaz said as she got on top of Issei. So, do you want to feel me? Eh? Issei said, unable to hide his excitement. Come on. I'll do everything you want. Ria said. The everything I want? Such beautiful words exist, Issei thought. But you, however, they were both interrupted with a knock on the door. Knock knock. Issei-san, it's time to get up. Asia's voice was heard outside Issei's door. Yes, I'm coming right up. Issei replied. Asia, please give us a few minutes. Me and Issei must get ready. Ria's replied as she stood up from Issei. After she said that, Issei's door opened, revealing Asia staying there with confused look on her eyes. As she saw Issei and Ria's, her eyes became teary. Hey Asia, I can explain, Issei began. I will be naked too. Asia said as she took off her shirt. What? Issei screamed. I don't want to be left behind. Asia said as she got on top of Issei as well. And in the next 10 minutes, Issei's screams and yelling was heard. It was weird and lively morning for Issei. Issei, Asia and Ria's were all sitting in Issei's kitchen, eating breakfast made by none other than Ria's and Asia. After that misunderstanding up there got clear, they all went downstairs to eat. Issei was looking back and forth at Ria's and Asia. He then finally decided to ask something. But you, why is Asia wearing this uniform? Issei asked as he pointed on Asia. She was wearing the girls' Kuo-town school uniform. The uniform was a clear masterpiece, or at least for Issei. The uniform consisted of white long or short-sleeved button-down shirt with black vertical linings, black ribbon on the collar, black shoulder cape and matching button-down corset, and a magenta skirt with white accents. Oh, didn't I tell you? I enrolled Asia in our school. She'll be in your class, so I guess you'll take care of her, right? Ria said. Of course. But how did you enroll her right into my class? Issei asked, confused. Simple. My father is administrator in the school, so all I have to do is ask. Ria said as she smiled. I see. Issei sighed. Well, as long as Asia's happy. I'm happy that we're going to be classmates, Issei-san. Asia said. I'm glad as well, Asia. Issei replied. Oh right. Issei, today the orc room is being cleaned, so we'll have to do our meeting somewhere else. So I was thinking to do it here. Do you mind? Ria's asked. No. Issei simply said. But I ask of you one thing, don't go down in the basement. Of course. Ria's said. And with that, they all continued eating their breakfast. As Issei, Ria's and Asia finished their breakfasts, they went to school. On their way there, Issei just listened to the everyday shouts of the boys and girls. Hyoudou. I'll kill you for this. Ah, Issei is walking with Ria's one-sama, why can't I be in her place? Pretty boy. Issei is with Ria's one-sama now. Is he interested in multiple relationships? Issei just listened to them. He got used to them already. The boys hated him, the girls admired him, just as always. Asia was just looking around, slightly confused. Issei-san and Butchu are very popular here. Issei is liked by most of the girls here, Asia. Him and Kiba are the school's most popular boys. Ria's explained. Amazing, Issei-san. Asia said. Thank you, Asia. Issei said as he scratched the back of his head. As Issei and Asia got to their own class, Asia was being told to wait outside the classroom for a bit. Issei walked inside and sat on his seat. It was then the school bell ringed and the teacher walked in. Good morning, class. We have a new student today. The teacher said. I hope that you will get along. You can come in now. The teacher said. As he did so, Asia walked in. Please introduce yourself. Yes. Asia said. Hello everyone. My name is Asia Argento. She said as she bowed down. Ooh, blonde beauty. One of the boys said quietly. She is so cute. Another boy said quietly. I'm getting laid with her, no matter what. Third boy said almost whispering. Currently I'm living in Hyoudou Issei's house. As she said that, the whole class began staring at Issei. I hope we will be able to get along. Asia said. Thank you, Asia-san. You can sit behind Hyoudou-san. The teacher said. Asia did as he said and went to sit behind Issei. Anyways class, today we shall be learning about the teacher began to teach his stuff. Again, Issei didn't pay attention. He just drew in his notepad. The first class was over. And of course, all the students in the classroom went to talk with Asia. Well, the girls. Most of the boys were just looking at Issei with hatred. The rest, understand Mitsuda and Motohama went to yell at Issei. Hyoudou? You bastard. Motohama yelled as he slammed his hands on Issei's desk. What did I do this time? Issei asked bored. You insatiable asshole. Is that true? Is Asia-chan really living with you? Mitsuda yelled as well. Yes, she is. Why are you asking? Issei asked. And why am I insatiable? Not only you're stealing the girls that we already targeted, but you're stealing the new one too. That's why. Motohama said. Stole? Stole who? Issei asked dumbfounded. First you stole Ria-senpai and Akeno-senpai. And just the way logic goes, you're doing all kind of lewd and perverted things with them. Mitsuda explained. I don't know what you heard, but that's not TRSA tried to say, but was interrupted by Motohama. And not only them. Motohama began. Your lewd hands are also targeting at our school mascot, Taoju Kaneko-chan. With your stupid charm, you're doing all kinds of inappropriate things with her. Well, that may be partially true, Issei thought. No. This is not true. Don't feed us your lies, you arrogant, Mitsuda began, but was interrupted by a girl standing behind him. What are the two perverts doing? Trying to turn Hyoudou into pervert as well? A girl asked. She had brown hair, styled in twin braids, yellow eyes, and she was wearing glasses, just like Motohama. She had mid-sized breasts, and she was wearing the girl's school uniform. The name of this girl was Kiryu Aika. She was the only perverted girl in Issei's class, and she had the same ability as Motohama. However, instead of being able to calculate girls' measurements, she was able to calculate a male's manhood just by looking. Shut up, Kiryu Aika. You don't understand man's passion. Motohama and Mitsuda both responded. And yet, Hyoudou is YA out of your league. Kiryu said. Ha. Just because he is attracting all the girls we can do that as well. I'm not talking about that, you fool. He is far from your league in different way. She explained. As Mitsuda and Motohama heard that, out of their league. What are you talking about? Issei asked as he looked at Kiryu. She has the ability to calculate your just by looking at you. Mitsuda whispered in Issei's ear. As he heard that, he immediately blushed. What? He yelled. He then whispered back at Mitsuda. What kind of power is that? It's useful if a male has it, but when it's female it's plainly weird. Motohama whispered at Issei. Maybe you're blackmailing me just because I rated you lowly. Kiryu said. Rated? What does she mean, Issei thought. That's because you never saw a real one. Motohama yelled at her. Maybe you should eat more. Then maybe I'll rate you higher. Kiryu said. She then turned towards Issei. Come to think about it, you're still unrated, my friend. She said. Issei just blushed and hid his MD useless. Cover yourself as much as you want. And I rate you. As she said that, she blushed like mad and she started drooling. Oh my. What? She is about to faint. Motohama said. Sweet mother of everything and everyone 11/10. She said and fainted. At the last thing, both Motohama and Mitsuda turned towards Issei. As they looked at him, they fell on the ground comically, again. Do you see that, Mitsuda? Until this guy is here, we'll never get laid. Motohama said to Mitsuda. If Kiryu tell everyone about him, we will never get laid. Mitsuda confirmed. He must disappear without trace. Will somebody take her to the nurse's office already? Issei asked. The classes were over. Issei and Asia were walking towards their home. While doing so, Issei was talking with Asia. So, do you like the school, Asia? Issei asked her. Yes. The whole class is very kind to me. And even these two boys, Mitsuda-san and Motohama-san, invited me to some sort of welcome party. Asia replied. Knowing these two, they will probably try to do something inappropriate to Asia, Issei thought. Just don't mind them. They are people you wouldn't want to communicate with. They have some impure thoughts. Impure thoughts? What do you mean? Asia asked. Issei's face just paled. I know she was living in a church, but doesn't she know this stuff? Must I be the one to tell her? No. She mustn't learn like that, Issei thought. Issei-san? Asia asked. You know what? Just forget I told you this. He said as he smiled. Just don't get too close with them. I see. Asia said as they continued walking forward. But, where are Butchu and the others? Shouldn't we wait for them? Asia asked. Not really. Butchu said that when her classes end, she will take Kiba, Akeno-san and Kaneko-chan to our house. Issei explained. I see. Then, shouldn't we hurry up? Asia asked. Yeah, it will probably be better. Issei replied. And with that, they continued walking towards Issei's house. As Issei and Asia got home, they were welcomed by Riaz and the others, sitting in the living room, chatting. As they entered, all of them turned towards Issei and Asia. Issei, Asia, you're back. Riaz said. Yeah, we are. Hello everyone. Issei said. After he did so, both Issei and Asia went to sit by the others. As Issei sat down on the couch, Kaneko stood up from her spot and sat on Issei's lap. As she did so, he blushed. Kaneko-chan. Issei tried to say. I told you that I'll be sitting here from now on. She said while smiling. Do you mind? She asked after that, afraid of the answer. No, of course not. It's just I still haven't got used to it. He replied to her. But you're welcome to sit on my lap anytime you want. Aren't you two cute together? Yufufufufufu. Akeno said in her usual teasing tone. Akeno-san. Issei said as he blushed harder. Anyways, let's review our work and the contracts we've made. Riaz said. We eliminated 2 stray devils last month. Both of them were S-class. Now, about the contracts. Ria said and pulled out a list from her pocket. Let's see now. We have 11 contracts from Akeno, 10 from Kaneko, 8 from Hyoudou, 3 from Asia, and finally 5 from Issei. Ria said. Both Issei-kun and Asia-chan are doing pretty good job. Akeno said. Congratulations, Issei-kun, Asia-chan. Kiba said. I'm going to make some more tea. Akeno said and stood up. I never actually asked before, but why are we even getting these contracts? Issei asked. It's your duty. That's what devils do. You get stronger with every contract, and if you work hard enough, you raise your rank among the devils. You can even become high-class devil if you get enough contracts. Riaz explained. And yet, I can't get it, why am I doing these contracts? I'm not a devil, Issei said. Yes, but you're part of my peerage, so you'll have to. Riaz said with a smile. If you do that, our clan will raise its popularity. If we raise our popularity, we will be able to fight in tournaments. And you want to fight strong opponents, right? Not really. I'm not that much of a battle maniac. I enjoy peace and quiet more. Issei replied. Now a question popped in my head, you're a peace, but what if you get to higher rank peace? Will you have your own peerage then? Riaz said. I don't know, Xerozzuro never said something like this nor he mentioned it, Issei replied as he touched his chin. As they were all talking, Akeno returned from the kitchen with a tray with tea. She then placed cups in front of everyone. There you go. Akeno said as she went to sit back on her place. Thank you, Akeno-san. Asia said. Oh, look at that. I forgot the snacks. I'll be right back. Akeno said and went to the kitchen again. She returned a minute later, however. Not only she had tray with food in her hands, but she was also bringing something else with her. Something that Issei didn't want to be seen by anyone, of course, his photo albums. Akeno-san, where did you find these? Issei asked as his face suddenly paled. Oh, you're talking about these. Akeno asked as she showed the albums. Could you believe? They were putted in the cupboards. Okay, but why did you bring them here? Issei asked as his face became even paler. You told us about you, but we got little curious about your life and parents, so I thought that it will be better for us to get to know you and them better. And I can't think of something better than your past. Yufufufufufu. Akeno replied with a teasing smile. But Issei's face just got paler, if that was possible. 15 minutes passed. The whole peerage was just looking at old pictures of Issei and his parents. They were all laughing, giggling, asking questions or just commenting how cute he was when he was young. Of course, Issei was blushing as they were all looking at all these awkward memories of his. And watching naked pictures of his. Issei, how old were you here? Riaz asked as she pointed at a photo. On it was Issei with his parents, staying outside of what looked like a mansion. If I'm not wrong, 6 years old. Issei replied, still blushing. Whose mansion is this then? Riaz asked. My mother and my uncle's. I think it was given to them by their parents, I'm not sure, however, Issei replied. Issei-senpai, is that your mother? Kaneko asked as she showed a picture to Issei. On it, there was an 18-19 years old girl, with long white hair, yellow eyes, cat ears and a tail. She was wearing white long dress and she was showing peace sign with her fingers. Yes. She was a lot younger back then. It's hard to imagine that such a peaceful and kind woman would lose control and go berserk, Issei replied. However, he said the last part in a hushed whisper, almost impossible for Kaneko to hear. It must be nice to live with a family like this. Kiba said quietly, while the others just commented the photos among themselves. Oh yeah, Kiba, do you have? Issei tried to say, but was interrupted. Hey, Issei-kun, this photo, Kiba said. Issei looked at the photo in question. On it, there were 2 kids. The first one was Issei, and next to him was a kid with short chestnut hair and violet eyes. Both of them were sitting in front of what looked like a sword. Oh, this was an old neighbor of mine. There was a time when I actually thought that she is a boy, Issei said as he giggled. Kaneko just looked at him with confusion. Well, she was behaving quite tomboyish back then anyways, she was really good friend of mine. The only true friend I had before meeting you all. I think her name was. Hey, Issei-kun. The sword, Kiba pointed at the sword on the picture. Do you remember this sword? No, it was a lot of time ago. Was it 9-10 years? No, I'm sorry, I really don't remember. Issei replied. Coincidences really do happen. Kiba said to himself. What do you mean? It's a holy sword. Kiba said. Holy sword? Issei asked. Yes. You know, forget that I said it. Kiba said and closed the album. The meeting ended 1 hour later. Everyone besides Riaz went home. As Issei, Asia and Riaz began to clean up, a red magic circle opened in the middle of the room. A magic circle? Issei asked confused. A summon. Riaz said. Someone is summoning you, Issei. Me? Why me? Issei asked. Who knows? I say it will be better to go and check. Riaz said. Yes. Issei said and stepped on the magic circle. I'm going. He said and disappeared. As Issei entered the magic circle, he was transported in a spacious luxury apartment. As he looked around, he saw a man with black hair and yellow bangs. He was wearing a red yukata as he was standing next to the sofa. Ah, it worked. I can't believe devils actually use that, the man said as he saw Issei. As Issei took a better look at him, he just smirked. Yeah, strange isn't it, Issei said as he went out of the magic circle. Azazel-sama. You haven't forgotten me. That's good to know. So, you're a devil now? The man, Azazel, asked. No. Just a piece. I don't want to be devil anyways, but hey, they really need my help. Issei said. Always the noble one. Anyways, you still have to grant my wish, don't you? Azazel said. Yes. Yes, I have. So what is it you want? Issei asked. Simple. Azazel said as he sat on the sofa. Share a drink with me. He said as he poured himself some sake. Issei sweet-dripped. You summoned me here just because you wanted me to drink with you? Issei asked confused. Is that a problem? No. Just don't forget that I'm underage. Ah, right, you're only 16 then, will you be okay with water? Yeah. Azazel was sitting there with Azazel on the couch, talking about everything that happened recently. About the battle with the Phoenix and the issue with Raynare and the other fallen angels. As Azazel heard about Raynare, he putted serious face. Raynare, huh? I can't believe she could do such a thing. She knows that I never harm the ones with sacred gears. Why would she do it? Azazel said. I don't know, maybe she was proving herself. Issei asked. Whatever it is, I'll have a talk with her. Azazel said as he drank his sake. Well then, you granted my wish. What must I give you now? I don't know, whatever you feel like giving, but wait, that was your wish? Issei said. Well, yes. Don't worry, I'll call you again sometime. Now I really have a lot of things, just take something, whatever you like. Okay then, how about these joysticks here? Issei said as he pointed at 2 joysticks. Both of them were from the original game of Dragon Ball. Oh? Them? Yeah, sure. Azazel said. But don't forget. I'll call you again soon. Of course, Azazel-sama. Issei said. Then, I shall be taking my leave now. Yes. And with that, Issei teleported himself out of Azazel's house. At the church in the town, where Issei fought with Fried and Raynare, 2 figures stood. They were wearing white robes with pale green outlines with hoods. One of the figures was wearing a big object wrapped in bandages on her back. The object looked like a giant sword. They were looking around the church and searching for signs what happened there. The big cross and the benches in the church were destroyed, and so was part of the roof. The staircase leading to the church's underground was visible as well. I heard that a stray priest, fallen angel and a person associated with the devils fought here. But this place looks like it happened decades ago. The first figure said as it took its hood off. As the hood fell, the person's head in the robes was clearly visible. It was a girl with short blue hair and green bang. She had yellow eyes. Are you sure that this is the place, Irina? She asked a second figure. Of course I am, Zenobia. The second figure took its hood off as well. Under the hood, there was a girl with long chestnut brown hair tied in 2 ponytails on both sides of her head. She also had violet eyes. After all, I lived here. Well, I was young at least. The second girl, known as Irina, said as she pulled out a photo from her robe. It was the same photo that Kiba showed to Issei. Issei and the rest of Ria's peerage were currently walking towards abandoned warehouse, the same in which they fought Visor, the stray devil. They received another order of the Archduke. They had to eliminate another stray devil. As Issei was walking with them, he was thinking out loud. Do you always do this? Issei asked. It's common thing for us. After all, this is my territory and I must guard it. Rias replied. As they got to the warehouse, Rias turned towards Issei, Kaneko and Kiba. Alright. Issei, Kaneko, Hyoudou. I want you to get inside the building and take the monster out. Rias instructed. Yes. Issei and Kaneko answered, but Kiba was just staring at the ground, his thoughts elsewhere. Hyoudou? Are you alright? Rias asked. Yes, I am. Let's do it. Kiba said and pulled out his sword from a magic circle. As he did so, they all entered the warehouse. As they entered, they saw a girl with long blue hair standing in the shadows. She looked like she was about to faint, and she did. However, as she fell, suddenly her face changed. She looked like a monster, and a horn appeared from her forehead. Her upper body was like that on a human, with the exception on the face, while the lower body looked like a bug. Whoa. That's not beautiful sight to see. Issei said. But that's what we came here for after all. Issei said, and both of his boosted gears appeared. Boost. Both of the gauntlets made noise. Hyoudou-senpai, if you please, Kaneko said to Kiba, but he was just staring at the ground again. The monster attacked Kaneko and actually hit her. She used an acid attack and destroyed part from Kaneko's clothing. She just fell on the floor. Damn you. Issei said as he stepped in front of Kaneko to protect her. Take that. Dragon shot fire strike. Issei said as he launched a dragon shot covered in fire at the monster. The monster didn't even feel it. It was immune from fire. Damn, that won't work, wake up, Kiba. Issei yelled at Kiba, snapping him out of his thoughts. Kiba quickly slashed at the monster with his sword, cutting its hands off. The monster screamed and fell on top of Kiba, almost crushing him. Kiba. Issei yelled. As the monster tried to bite Kiba, Kaneko quickly went to it, grabbed it and threw it in the air. Fly. She said as she threw it. The monster fell right in front of Ria's outside the warehouse. The devil killed its own master in pursuit for something better as a monster. Monsters shall be destroyed. In the name of the noble clan Gremory, I shall punish you. Ria said and fired 2 waves of the power of destruction, destroying the monster without leaving trace. She then turned towards Issei, Kaneko and Kiba, who just walked out of the warehouse. Are you alright everyone? She asked them. Kaneko-chan is wounded. Issei simply said. Asia then went close to Kaneko. Let me see, Kaneko-chan. She said. Yes. Kaneko said and showed Asia the injury. Asia used her sacred gear on Kaneko's wound. After a second, it looked like it never was there. Suddenly, a loud sound was heard. Slap, a sound of slapping. As they all turned to the source of the sound, they saw Ria standing in front of Kiba. Her hand was raised and on Kiba's right cheek there was a red mark, meaning that Ria's hit him. Did you awake yet? One mistake and everyone would be dead right now. Ria's yelled at Kiba. Hyoudou, are you alright? You're acting oddly lately, I've never seen you like this. Ria said. Yes I am, but you. It's just, today wasn't my day. Now, if you excuse me, he said as he bowed at Ria's and started to leave. However, as he did so, somebody stopped him. As Kiba turned around to check who it was, he saw Issei, standing there with a hand on Kiba's shoulder. Is that all you're going to say? It's obvious you have a problem, Kiba. Issei said. He then took a deep breath. Kiba, everyone here has problems. You do too. But we can help you. We're friends after all. Friends? Kiba said quietly and turned towards Issei while smiling grimly. You're pretty violent today, Issei-kun. Kiba. Issei was at loss of words. What happened with you just now? I just remembered what I fight for. Kiba replied. For Butchu's sake, right? Issei said. No. For revenge. Kiba replied. And with that, he just went his way. Issei just looked at his direction and narrowed his eyes. After the stray devil was defeated and killed, Ria's and her whole peerage went their homes. In Ria's and Asia's case in Issei's house. When they all got home, they sat on the couch and started to comment Kiba's weird behavior. Kiba was acting oddly today, Issei said. I know. I've never seen him like this, Ria's replied. If he had something on his mind, why didn't he tell us? Also, why right today? Ria's wondered out loud. Kiba freaked out after he saw that old picture, Issei said as he sighed. Picture? Asia asked. What picture it was, Issei-san? I'll go and get it. Issei said and stood up from the couch. After less than a minute, Issei was back and he was bringing one of the albums with him. He then opened it and found the picture of him and his old neighbor. This one. He said as he showed it to both Ria's and Asia. He said something about the sword and asked me if I remember it. He called it Holy Sword. However, I don't think that this sword was so important. Issei, do you know about the Holy Swords? Ria's asked. Yes. They are special swords that the priests and exorcists use. They have special power and are able to destroy a devil in a single slash. Issei said. Yes. But do you know about the Excalibur swords? Ria's asked. No. What is that? Issei asked. They are special types of holy swords, even stronger than the normal ones. Years ago, there was an experiment. It was called the Holy Sword Experiment. Ria's began. The church tried to find a host for the Excalibur swords. However, I heard that it was a failure and all the test subjects were exterminated. I didn't hear of anything like that while I was in the church. Asia said. Normal. It happened a lot of time ago. Ria said, stopping for a moment. Hyoudou is a survivor from this experiment. Kiba-san? Asia asked, shocked. Yes. Hyoudou was the only one who survived this. Ria said. No wonder he was like this today. The sword on the photo, it reminded him of his old life. Is there a way to help him? Issei asked. For now, the best thing we can do is to keep him safe from any dangers or from himself. Ria said. Himself? Issei asked. Yes. If he strays from us for too long, he will become stray devil. This is something I don't want to happen, Ria's replied. Me neither, Kiba, just don't do anything stupid. Issei said, mostly to himself. It was raining in Kuo. In an alleyway, close to Issei's house, a figure was walking. This same figure had short blonde hair and blue eyes. This was Kiba. He was walking outside, in the rain. Suddenly, in front of him, a priest appeared. The priest had a huge wound on his chest. It was made with a sword. As the priest appeared in front of Kiba, he began to beg for help. "Please. Help me," the priest begged weakly. "The priest?" Kiba simply asked himself. The priest then fell in front of Kiba, dead. A second after that, second figure appeared. This same figure was wearing priest's clothing. The figure had mid-long silver hair and red eyes. In his hands, there was a long, sharp sword. Yo. Hello. How are you doing in this wonderful night, Devil-kun?" The priest said as he looked at Kiba. The stray priest freed Zelzen. Kiba yelled. Well, it's good to see that you remember me, ha 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 ha, Fried said, as he laughed. "What are you still doing in this town?" Kiba asked angrily. "I can't hold back my tears from this joyful reunion," Fried said, as he pretended to cry. "I'm sorry, I'm not in the mood for jokes right now," Kiba said and summoned his sword. He then grabbed it and took a stance against Fried. Maniacal laughter. "Well, that's good then. I was just getting bored of killing priests," Fried said as he started to spin his sword in his hands. Suddenly, a yellow aura covered the sword. As the sword began glowing, Kiba took a step back. "That glow, that aura, it can't be," Kiba said. "Perfect. Nice timing. I would like to test something on you now. Let's see how your little piece of metal called demonic sword holds against my holy sword Excalibur," Fried said while laughing. Kiba just stood there with narrowed eyes while gritting his teeth. "I'll never forgive the Excalibur," he said to himself. Kiba and the stray priest known as Fried were still out in the night, in the rain. They were clashing with their swords against each other. Kiba's face showed only one emotion, pure anger. Anger towards Fried. Anger towards the holy sword. He narrowed his eyes and gritted his teeth as he clashed with his sword against Fried. "Your pretty face is getting all messed up," Fried said. "It's starting to look like it was made to be the prey of my holy sword Excalibur." "Shut the hell up," Kiba said as he pushed Fried backwards. Fried landed on the ground and looked at Kiba again. "That's pretty mouth for such a pretty face." "Right," Fried said as he stuck his tongue out. "Holy eraser," Kiba yelled. Suddenly, from his sword, 10 black beams appeared. They made their way to Fried's sword and grabbed onto it as if they were trying to destroy it. However, Fried's sword just glowed with yellow light and destroyed the beams. "Yeah, that's not going to work, sorry," Fried said as he lifted his sword at the level of his face and licked the blade. "Heh. I was just testing you and the sword. I had to see if it's real. Now, I won't hesitate to break you and the sword," Kiba replied as he launched himself at Fried again. He started slashing towards Fried, but Fried just deflected his attacks. "Good. Not bad. Try harder." "Ooh, I like your style," Fried said while deflecting Kiba's attacks. He then slashed with his sword towards Kiba and actually winded his hand. Kiba suddenly fell on one knee from the pain. He then gripped his sword at his wound. "Did I forget to tell you? This sword was made to kill you, the devil shits. Capiche?" Fried said as he got closer to Kiba. "I know," Kiba said as he stood up a bit. "As if I'd forget," he said and kicked Fried in his legs, making him fall. "You cheater," Fried said as he was on the ground. "Devilish, aren't I?" Kiba said as he slashed towards Fried again. Fried quickly stood up and dodged Kiba's attack. "Touché," Fried said while looking at Kiba. Suddenly, at Fried's left ear, a small magic circle used from the fallen angels appeared. It stayed there for a second or two and then disappeared. "Ah, I'm being called. Sorry, have to go. See you later," the Fried said and threw a flashbang. Kiba covered his eyes and after a second, Fried disappeared. Kiba just stood there at his place, staring at the nothing. After a second or so, he continued with his way. Back at Issei's house, Issei was starting to wake up from two things: his alarm clock and unfamiliar weight on his chest. Beep 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 beep, the alarm clock was beeping. At that, Issei started to wake up. "My chest feels heavy," Issei said quietly as he started to wake up. He then looked down at his chest and saw two figures laying on it. The first figure was a young girl with buxom figure and long crimson hair. The second figure was of a younger girl with long blonde hair. The two figures were Ria's and Asia. They were both laying on his chest, but not this part was shocking for him. No. The shocking part was that they were both naked. Issei, unable to hide his surprise, did only one thing. He screamed. As he let out a loud scream from surprise, he woke up Ria's and Asia. Ria started to flutter her eyes, meaning that she was waking up. As she opened her eyes, she looked at Issei and smiled at him. "Good morning, Issei." "Good morning, Issei-san," Asia said as she woke up as well. Issei just blushed as he saw their naked bodies from closer angle. "But you, Asia, why were you sleeping on me?" Issei asked as he was still blushing. "Well, you got tired last night and went to your room to sleep. Then I felt tired as well and came to sleep with you, but Asia followed me. So here we are," Riaz explained while smiling. "Oh okay, but why are you both naked?" Issei asked as a little blood started to gush from his nose. "Oh, that," Riaz said. "Well, I can't sleep unless I'm naked, so I had to take off all my clothes." It looks like Asia followed my example, Riaz explained. She then grabbed the blanket from the bed and covered herself with it. She then stood up from the bed. Anyways, it's time to get up, Issei. Riaz said. Let's go, Asia. Yes. Asia said as she dressed her nightgown that was laying on the floor, near the bed. Thank you for sharing your bed with us, Issei-san. Asia said, and both her and Riaz exited Issei's room. As they both left, Issei laid back on his bed and started thinking about his stuff. Why is Butchu suddenly like that, Asia? As well, it's not like I don't like it, but why, Issei wondered. Probably because you saved them all from the Phoenix guy. Drake replied out loud. Oh? Drake, you're awake? Issei said. Yes. But anyways, I have some news for you. Drake suddenly said, changing the subject. What that may be? Issei asked. You should be careful who you fight from now on, partner. Drake said. Why are you telling me that so suddenly? Issei asked. The white one, the hacker Yuku, is active. Maybe it won't be long until you meet him. Drake said. Are you serious? The vanishing dragon? Issei asked. Yes. I don't know why, but I have the feeling that he is nearby. Drake said. Well, I welcome him to come. I'll deal with him. Issei replied. Oh? You don't seem troubled by this information, partner. Why is that? Drake asked. Well, let me put it like this. If this person wants a fight, I'll fight. If the person will be friendly, I'll be as well. Issei said. You do understand that the second option is very unlikely, right? Drake said. Shut up, Drake. Issei said. Of course, of course. Well, I'ma leave you alone for now. Try not to get killed, okay? Drake said. You do know that I won't get myself killed, Drake. Issei replied. Yes, I do. But still, be careful. Of course, Drake. Issei said. And with that, the conversation between Issei and Drake ended. Issei stood up from his bed and went to the dresser. He grabbed his school uniform and dressed it. As he was done, he went to the bathroom to brush his teeth. As he was done, he went downstairs to have breakfast with Riaz and Asia. Just like yesterday, the breakfast was made by Asia and Riaz. As they finished eating, they all went out for school. Sauna and Tsubaki were walking towards the school grounds early in the morning. As they were both walking forward, Sauna suddenly stopped. Kaichu? Tsubaki asked. Sauna, however, didn't react. She was looking at two hooded figures. The same figures that were in the church the last night. The two girls known as Irina and Zenobia. She wasn't looking exactly at them, however, but at the object on Zenobia's back. The holy sword, Sauna said as she narrowed her eyes. The two figures just stared back at her. None of them was making a move whatsoever. The classes ended. They passed quickly. As they ended, Issei and Asia went to the orc room to meet with Riaz and the rest. As they got there, they started to look around the old school building. The whole building was cleaned up and the floor had a mirror finish. Wow, they did excellent work with the cleaning. Asia said. Yes. They did awesome job. Issei agreed with Asia as they continued walking down the corridor. They suddenly saw a mysterious locked room at the end of the corridor. There was a padlock on it with chains and several yellow lines with text which read "Do not enter." What is this closed room? Asia asked, confused. But you told me about it once. They call it the Forbidden Room. I don't know what's in there, but surely is important. Issei answered. Both of them then continued walking towards the main room in which Riaz was. When they finally reached it, they entered it, finding only Riaz and Kaneko in it. Hey. Is that all of us? Where are the rest? Issei asked. Akeno is out, doing her devil business. Riaz said. Udo-senpai is absent from school. Kaneko said, as she was eating an apple. Does it have to do something with the holy swords? Issei asked. Both Kaneko and Riaz nodded their heads. What exactly happened with him? Issei asked as he sat on one of the couches, next to Kaneko. But of course, as he sat next to her, Kaneko moved from her place and sat on his lap. Asia then sat next to Issei. I said that Udo is a survivor from the Holy Sword experiment, right? Riaz began. There were many more children test subjects that were conditioned to be compatible with Excalibur. That's because Excalibur is not just one. They are 7. The original one was destroyed a lot of time ago. From the fragment left from it, 7 new swords were created. Anyways, Udo and the rest. They failed to become compatible with the Holy Sword Excalibur. The experiment was a failure. And so, the leader decided to dispose of all the test subjects. Dispose of, you can't mean, Issei said with wide eyes. He was nearly dead. Riaz began again. However, he was the only to escape and with his short life remaining, he desired nothing but vengeance. As I saw his strong determination, I wanted him to put it into good use as a devil. So that's why Kiba became a devil. That's why when he saw this photo, Issei said as he clenched his fists. He felt sorry for him, he really did. We'll just have to keep an eye on him. Riaz said with a smile. As she said that, the door towards the room they were all in opened. Once the door opened, Akeno entered the room. Ah, Akeno, you're back. Ria said as she looked at her. Yes. And I've brought some guests. Akeno said as she walked deeper into the room. Once she walked deeper, 2 more people followed her. They were Sona and Tsubaki. Excuse us. Sona said as both her and Tsubaki entered the room. They have some urgent business with you, but you. Akeno said. That's right. Sona said. Riaz, would you please accompany me to my house? No one will be able to interfere there. As Riaz heard that, she narrowed her eyes. This sounds like serious business. Riaz said. Yes. Quite serious. Sona replied. Riaz, Akeno, Sona and Tsubaki were all in Sona's house in the underworld. They were currently in the sauna, all of them but naked, obviously. This morning, I was in contact with 2 affiliates of the church. Sona said, as all of them were seated in the sauna. Contact? Akeno asked. I haven't seen any of them in the city for a while. Riaz said. And what were they here for? They asked to talk to you, Riaz. Sona replied. Church affiliates want to meet a devil. Riaz asked surprised. You must be joking. In any case, this can't be good. So, how did you reply them? I accepted. Sona replied. After school tomorrow, they will visit your clubroom. However, there's something that worries me. These 2 affiliates had a holy sword with them. Tsubaki said. Holy sword, Riaz asked surprised. Church affiliates with holy sword. In this city of all places, could it? Riaz suddenly remembered the photo which Kiba showed to Issei. Could this be her? What are the chances? Riaz asked herself quietly. At Issei's house, Issei was sitting on the couch, watching TV. What he watched? Documentary about the supernatural. He was interested in it. Even if he was part of it, he never got to know the supernatural better. As he was watching it quietly, the doorbell suddenly ringed. Ding dong, the doorbell ringed. Issei stood up from the couch. Ding dong, the doorbell ringed again. Yes. Yes. Coming. Issei replied. He then got to the door and opened it. As he opened it, he was welcomed by 2 figures. The same 2 hooded figures from the church. How may I help you? Issei asked with a smile. As he said that, the first figure took its hood off, revealing its face. It was a young girl, with chestnut hair, tied in 2 ponytails on both sides of her head. She also had violet eyes. It was Irina. Irina was Issei's old friend, the girl from the photo with the holy sword. As Issei took a better look at her, his eyes widened. Is that really? Long time no see, Issei-kun. Irina said as she smiled. She then proceeded to hug him. Issei was a little surprised by this act, but he didn't try to back off. The second figure stayed still with her eyes narrowed. As Irina stopped hugging Issei, she looked at him again, smiling. Irina, is that you? Issei asked. Yes. She said. Issei then took a step back. Please, enter. Issei said as he asked them to enter. Thank you. Irina said as she bowed down. Zenobia was just eyeing Issei, not saying a word. As they entered, Issei closed the door and they all sat on the opposite couches in the living room. Asia was not there. She was at client's house. So are you hungry? May I offer you something? Issei asked. No, thank you, Issei-kun. Irina said. Zenobia didn't say anything. What about you? Issei asked as he turned to Zenobia. She said nothing again. She just shook her head. I see. Issei said and sat on the opposite couch. Well then, when did you return, Irina? I haven't returned, Issei-kun. I'm here on a mission. She replied. I just came here to see you. Mission? What kind of mission? Issei asked. I'm sorry, I can't tell you. It's secret. She said as she closed her eyes and tilted her head cutely. I see. If you need something, please contact me. I'll help you with whatever I can. Issei said. I know you will, Issei-kun. She answered. Suddenly her face became serious. By the way, I heard a rumor about you. Is it true? What did you hear? Issei asked. You're a devil, right? Zenobia said bluntly. Issei just looked at her. He saw in her eyes that she was ready to attack any minute now. However, he just smiled. No. I'm not a devil. Issei replied. Ah, I'm so glad, Irina began, but Issei interrupted her. Well, I'm part from the peerage of one, but all in all, I'm not a devil. Issei said. Irina was looking at him wide-eyed. But, you're not emitting devil aura, Irina said. How is that possible? How are you part of a peerage without being a devil? And why are you even part of a peerage? Easy. Issei began. I'm a free piece. I'm pawn, but I'm not devil, meaning that I don't have devil weakness or aura, nor I'm a devil. I can only make contracts and fight in the raiding games. Issei said. Other than that, I'm still the same old Issei. Heretic. Zenobia said. Zenobia. Don't be rude. Irina yelled at Zenobia. So your name is Zenobia, huh? Issei said. Zenobia just narrowed her eyes. I see. Well, you see, Zenobia, I'm still believer. Believe or not, I'm Christian. That's the plus of being free piece. Issei said. So you didn't stop believing? Irina asked. Of course not, Irina. Issei replied. Irina just smiled at him. In the next 15 minutes, Issei and Irina talked about what happened in the past, what each one of them did while separated and so on. Well, Issei-kun, it's already late. We're going to go now, okay? Irina said as both she and Zenobia stood up. Yes. Of course. Issei said. Say hello to your parents from me, okay? Irina said. She then kissed the cross which was hanging from her neck. Amen. Of course, Irina. Goodbye. He said and closed the door after them. He then sat back on the couch. Oh man, she got a lot more beautiful and her big, he said to himself. Melons. Drake suddenly interrupted him. Oh, Drake, you're awake. Issei looked at his wrists. Yes. So, what happened? Drake asked. Well, I was visited by an old friend. Issei replied. There was a time when I thought that she was a boy, but now it's impossible to say such a thing, she really got a lot more beautiful. Haha. That's my partner. So? It's she now, huh? Drake said, teasing him. Issei just blushed. No. She is here for short time anyways. Issei said, still blushing. Maybe someday. What about the other one then? Drake said, teasing him again. Are you talking about Kaneko-chan? Issei replied. Yeah, her. Drake confirmed. Well, I do like her. She is cute, you can't deny it. She is kind, if you get to know her better. She is also partially like me. Issei said. But every time I see her, I experience something like deja vu. Like, I have seen her before and I just don't remember, but yes. I like her. Confused, aren't we? Drake said. Kind of. Anyways, but you will be back soon. I wonder what did Kaichu told her. I'm also kinda concerned about Kiba, Issei said. Well then, good luck with whatever you're doing. I'll just rest until then. Drake said. Lazy dragon, Issei thought. It was then, a magic circle opened close to him. Magic circle? Here? Issei wondered out loud. Well, it looks like it's for me. He then stepped on it. As he stepped there, he was quickly teleported to the town's river. The largest river in the town. Sitting there was the man that called Issei before, Azazel. He just sat there while smirking. Ah, there you are. Azazel said. You called me, Azazel-sama? Issei asked. Yeah, I told you that I'll call you again, didn't I? Azazel replied. Yes, you did. Issei said. Well then, what is your wish? Well, I intended only to talk, but I don't mind you helping me catch some fish. Are you okay with that? Azazel said. Of course. But you don't have to call me from a magic circle every time you want to talk to me, Azazel-sama. Issei said. I know, but it's both easier and faster, isn't it? Azazel said. Yeah, Issei replied and sat next to him. Both Issei and Azazel were sitting next to the river with fishhooks in their hands. As they were both sitting there, Azazel was talking with Issei. I see. So your childhood friend is part of the church? Azazel asked. Yeah. But she looks happy. Issei said. Did she tell you that? Azazel asked. No. I felt it. She didn't tell me she is from the church either. Again, I felt it. Issei said as he took out a fish from the river. But what would they be here for? Well, probably they have a mission to kill a devil. Or maybe me. But maybe, just maybe, they're here to investigate your case with Raynare. Azazel said. Ah, speaking of that, what happened with her? Issei asked. She still has not uttered a word. Azazel replied with a sigh. Pretty scared of something, I'm sorry, Issei. For now, I really can't make anything more than that. I see. Well, let's hope that she won't attack me again. Issei said. She won't. I'll make sure of it. Azazel replied. Well, nice talking with you, Issei. But, I guess it's time for you to go now. Yeah, sorry. Issei said. No. I understand you. See you soon then. Azazel said as he continued fishing. The night came and went. And so did the morning. Nothing interesting happened. Issei and Asia were at school. As the classes ended, both of them went to the clubroom. As they got there, they found Riaz sitting on the couch with Kaneko and Akeno behind her. She was expecting somebody. Hello. Issei greeted them as both him and Asia entered the clubroom. Ah, Issei, Asia, you're here. Riaz turned to them. Welcome. Who are you waiting, but you? Asia asked. Last night, Sauna informed me that 2 affiliates from the church will be coming in our clubroom today. Riaz replied. But you didn't tell us about that in the morning. Issei said. I'm sorry. I was little stressed because of them. Riaz replied. As she said that, the door leading to the room where Riaz and the others were all in opened. After the door opened, 2 figures entered the room. Both of them had white robes with hoods. As they entered the room, however, they took their hoods off. As they took their hoods off, Issei immediately recognized them. They were Irina and Zenobia. Ah, you're here. Please sit down. Riaz said as she stood up. Akeno, would you please make some tea for us? Ria's addressed Akeno. Of course, but you. Akeno said and exited the room. As both Irina and Zenobia sat on the opposite couch of Ria's, Zenobia started talking. Thank you for your cooperation. She said with a serious face. I'm Zenobia Quarta. And I'm Shidu Irina. Irina said with a cheerful smile. I see. So, for what reason would servants of God desire to meet a devil? It's about the Excaliburs, Gremory-san. Irina replied. Although one is yet to be found, the 6 remaining Excaliburs have been kept by the 3 divisions of the church. 3 of those have been stolen by a fallen angel. Irina finished. As Riaz and the others heard the last part, they all widened their eyes in shock and amazement. The ones that we have are this, the Holy Sword of Destruction, Excalibur Destruction, Zenobia said, while holding the wrapped in bandages sword in her hands. And my Holy Sword of Mimicry, Excalibur Mimic. Irina finished from where Zenobia stopped as she showed Riaz and her peerage her hand. On it, there was a tiny white ribbon tied just above her forearm. So, what do you want from us? Riaz asked them. This particular problem is between us and the fallen angels. Zenobia said. We can't afford to fight with the devils of this city. You're awfully condescending. Riaz replied. You thought we would side with the fallen angels to do something to the holy swords. Devils despise holy swords. Zenobia said. You're in the same position as the fallen angels. As Zenobia said that, Ria's eyes changed. Instead of her green-blue colored eyes, there were glowing crimson eyes, meaning that she was pissed and just a little bit more, and she could just destroy them. If we must, we'll completely destroy you, even if you're the sister of the Satan. If you know that much already, then let me tell you something else. I will never side with a fallen angel. Ria said as she smirked. In the name of the Gremories, I swear I'll never do anything to humiliate the mass. Zenobia smirked as well. I'm glad to hear that. Zenobia said, still smirking. That was just what our headquarters were after. I'm sure the sister of the Satan wouldn't be so foolish. Then you must know that I won't side with you, right? Riaz told her. Of course. Zenobia nodded. We simply would like you to pledge non-intervention in this ordeal. Understood. Riaz said. Thank you for your time. Zenobia said as both her and Irina stood up from the couch. Won't you wait for your tea? Riaz asked. We're sorry, but we can't befriend devils. Zenobia said. We shall take our leave now. As she said that, she looked at Asia. As Asia saw that Zenobia was staring at her, she twitched. I've been wondering this since I saw you. Are you Asia Argento? Zenobia asked Asia. Yes. Asia replied timidly. I never thought I'd see a witch here from all places, Zenobia said. Asia widened her eyes at the way Zenobia called her. Ah, you're the ex-nun. The one who became a devil? Irina asked. Asia just looked at the floor. I heard that you were exiled because you could heal even fallen angels and devils, but I never knew you'd become a devil. Asia gripped her skirt tightly. She tried to say. Asia Issei said as he looked at her. To think that a saint has become a devil, Zenobia said with a hint of disgust in her tone. Nobody's perfect, I suppose. Asia's eyes were trembling, as if she was just about to cry. Hey you. Issei yelled at Zenobia. Shut up or I'll make you to shut up forever. Issei-senpai, please don't do that. Kaneko, who was next to Issei, stopped him. That's right, I can't make a scene with her right here, Issei thought. But still, do you still believe in God? Zenobia suddenly asked Asia. Zenobia, please. Irina tried to stop her, but Zenobia just raised her hand, telling her not to say anything. Some blasphemers feel some guilt and retain a little of their faith. Zenobia said. Asia's eyes were just trembling harder. I can sense that from her. That's right, Asia said quietly, as a single teardrop from her right eye fell on the floor. I just can't quite let it go. I believed in him all my life. And I'm still believing. Asia said suddenly, while her shoulders were trembling hard. In that case, let us kill you now. Zenobia said bluntly. At that, Asia's eyes became wider than before. Whatever sins you have committed, God will always forgive you. I will punish you in the name of God. Issei tried to sprint to Zenobia, but Kaneko stopped him. That's enough. Ria said loudly as she stood up from the couch. If you're going to belittle my servant. I wasn't belittling her. Ria's just narrowed her eyes. That's just my duty as a woman of faith. As Issei heard that, he released himself from Kaneko's grip and sprinted towards Asia, stopping in front of her, protecting her. Issei. Ria said. Issei-san. Asia said with teary eyes. Did you call Asia a witch? Issei asked angrily. I believe it's a term fit for her state. Zenobia replied while smirking. Like hell it is. Issei yelled back at her. You're the ones that started calling her a saint. Asia was always alone. Issei said as his eyes got teary at the last part. A saint needs only God's love. Zenobia said. Those seeking more love or friendship are not worthy of sainthood. Screw your blah blahs, everyone has the right to have friends. Even the saints. Issei replied. Just because most of them don't want to, doesn't mean they can't. What are you to Asia Argento? Zenobia asked. Her family. Her friend. Her ally. Issei yelled back. If you do anything to Asia or any of my friends, I'll personally slay you. May I take this as a challenge to the entire church? Zenobia asked. What a bold statement from such a feeble devil. Zenobia said as she raised the wrapped sword. Issei smirked at her and narrowed his eyes. I'm not a devil, did you forget? Issei said. Your big sword won't do anything to me. You're welcome to try though, but I warn you something is going to be cut in half. It'll be you or the sword. But why not both? Issei, stop it. Riaz said. Very well. A loud voice was heard. As they all turned to the source of voice, they saw the missing link in the Gremory Peerage the night. The source of this voice was no other than Kiba. I'll be your opponent. He said while looking at Zenobia. Who are you? She asked without really being interested. Your senior. He simply answered. Hyoudou, Riaz quietly said. After that little scene inside the house, Riaz and her peerage, alongside with Irina and Zenobia, went outside the old school building. Issei and Kiba were staying next to each other, and in front of them were Irina and Zenobia. Well then, let us begin. Zenobia said, and both her and Irina removed their robes. Underneath the robes, they were wearing a black leather outfit which consisted of black leather top covering their whole upper and lower body. Long black leather stockings which were covering a large part of their legs with the exception of their thighs. They also had long black leather gloves which were going from the elbow all the way down to the palm. Is this really okay? Asked Akeno as she was staying with Riaz, Asia and Kaneko who were staying away from Issei and Kiba. Should we be fighting church affiliates on our own accord? This is simply an unofficial sparring match. Riaz replied. If either of our higher-ups knew about this, we would be in big trouble. Irina said as she turned the white ribbon which was tied on her hand in a katana. We'll do our best not to kill you. Zenobia said as the bandages in which her sword was wrapped disappeared. Zenobia's sword had big long handle and a thin, long and sharp blade. Above the handle, there were two small blades that resembled two small axes. Above them, there was a thin and long big blade. As Kiba saw it, he started laughing. You're laughing? Zenobia asked him confused. Yeah, because I finally found what I've been dying to destroy. Kiba said, and around him, 7 swords appeared. Sword creator, Zenobia said. I remember now. It was said that one subject from the Holy Sword experiment escaped disposal. Issei-kun. Irina yelled at Issei while her eyes were gleaming. What is it, Irina? Issei asked her. I can't believe that after so many years of being apart, I have to fight you. Irina said. But knowing that you're not a devil, my sword will barely do something to you. Ah, how disadvantageous of me. Hey, don't worry about that, Issei said. I won't use my powers on you. I'll only use this. Issei said and summoned his 2 daggers. Even if I'm not a devil, it's a sword we're talking about, so you'll deal some damage. But I say, let's try not to kill each other, okay? Issei said. Of course. I don't want to harm you, Issei-kun. Irina said. Come then, let me show you what I learned through the years. Amen. She said and laughed herself at Issei. With that, their battle has begun. End of the part 4. So how was this story? I hope you like it. And if you like it, share this story with your friends and like the video too. And don't forget to subscribe our channel for daily awesome fanfiction. Okay, it's time for me to go. Bye bye.